I'm Natalia. Here's Leandro. Leandro is from Alma Hard. He's the boss. Okay, so you're going to making
Yes.
questions. We're going to making questions in turns, I think. So let's do it.
Uh-huh. Yes.
So hello guys. We are from Alma Hard channel, and today we have a very special guest with us. We have Marco Mendoza here. So, but first, don't forget to subscribe the channel here, turn on the notifications, and stay tuned. We have all the content, new contents here. So, how are you, Marco?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm enjoying the holidays. I've been working a lot, like I was saying earlier. This whole year, I left mid-February and touring all over Europe, um, doing session work along the way, recording everywhere, which is amazing now. Recording in Milano, recording in Holland, in Denmark. It's a trip. So it's very busy for me. It's a very busy time for me. I'm getting requests to do this, requests to do that, and then along the way, obviously, I'm doing my solo thing, which, to my surprise, it keeps growing and growing and growing, and I keep getting invited to bigger and better things and festivals and all that. So I'm really excited. It's an exciting time for me as a solo artist. Um, but I'm good right now. We finished last Monday or Tuesday in Bulgaria, and then I met up with my family in Paris. So we're in Paris, and then we came to here. We're in Amsterdam, Holland. We're on the way to Germany. And then we come back to England and fly home from England. I'm having a great time, enjoying my time off, after a lot of shows this year. So I'm really grateful. The short answer would be, how am I doing? You asked me. I'm really content and really grateful, yes, to be working and healthy.
That's important.
Very
So,
important.
very important. So that's
Yes.
nice. So let's talk about your tours, your new tour here. So, what is your expectation about coming to Brazil? Could you talk a little bit about I think this Viva La Rock tour? So,
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, and for lack of better words, uh, I just say, one thing's guaranteed. I have a great time on stage, and I include the audience. I bring you in. I really believe I'm that guy that believes that the audience is the party. That's where the party is. We are just facilitators. We're just here to go, hey, let yourselves go. Let's have a good time. But so you can expect a lot of that. Guaranteed, you will have a great time. But on the other hand, um, I'm really excited to introduce to the fans in South America my music, my solo music, which I'm really excited about because it seems to be doing really well everywhere else around the planet. So I'm excited to do that, to play my songs, to sing my songs, to sing my lyrics. And I like to say that I always try to bring a positive, uplifting, optimistic kind of energy to my music, because I believe we have a lot of the other stuff, the doomsday thing, which is great. I love it. I appreciate it. And some of it is amazing. But for me personally, I've always been a positive person. I always lean on the glass is half full kind of attitude. Look at the good things before you look at the bad. Appreciate the good things. So you can expect a lot of fun and you can expect a lot of surprises in that we're going to be tipping our hat and playing a few songs from some of the bands that I've been with. And I'm not going to say what because that's part of the surprise. So I'm excited. I'm excited to play with some of the players from down there. I've been listening to some of the cats and talking to a few cats, and you guys have a lot of talent down there. A lot. I like mind blowing. So that really excited about that I get the chance to connect in a musical level with some of your amazing talent down there in Brazil, in Argentina, and Montevideo. We're going to Uruguay too, which is a trip. I've never been there. So um, Expect a good time, and I guarantee you will walk away with a smile on your face. And yeah, you got to show up for the surprises. There's a lot of musical surprises going on, and it's going to be great. Definitely great. Yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. The last time I was in South America, again, I think it was, we were talking earlier, I think it was 2018 or 17. So it's been a while. I was there with the Daisies and we had a great tour. And I got invited. In 2018, I had Viva La Rock that came out. It's been that long now. Wow. And I got invited to come back, but as you might know or not know, I got really busy. I got extremely busy doing I'm juggling a lot of projects and recordings and sessions and tours. And um, right before the pandemic, 19 was one of the best years for my solo thing because I came out touring. And then the pandemic happened and we froze. Everything just fell apart. So, um, yeah, I'm excited for so many reasons, but I gotta say, I love it in South America. I love Brazil. I've spent a lot of time there. I used to go there with my jazz project. I was down there with Scott Henderson. I went down there with my trio quite a few times, played in Rio, played in Sao Paulo, and most recently with a lot of rock bands, but most recently with the Dead Daisies. So Baja Shushuka, Copacabana, Ipanema, etc., etc., etc. That's and Rio. And Sao Paulo is one of the major cities on the planet, man. It's just so happening. So I'm really excited, as you can tell. I can't come up with one answer, but expect a good time for sure. It's going to be very exciting time.
Yes,
Yeah.
Leandro, want to ask something? Not...
Yes, I want to know after all of the before all of the questions that you had for you. Uh, we want to know. We know that you were a great bass player, but what made you able to deal with so many great rock stars like David Coverdale, Neil Sean, and etc.? How do you think you are able to deal with these guys? Because we know that all of them are awesome, are great singers and guitarists, but the guys are the boss.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And in the music business, and any given project, I'm a firm believer that in any given project, the bigger the project, the heavier the weight. The heavier the weight, the more responsibility. And cats like Coverdale, like Ted Nugent, Scott Gorham and John Sykes and Neil Sean from et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. So I go into these projects. First of all, I am flabbergasted and I am so humbled that they would call me to be part of their project. So I'm very grateful. That's the first thing that goes through my head, it goes through my heart. I'm very grateful. Thank you for the call, very humbled. And then I understand the responsibility that they have to bring on this project to the public, to the fans, to the tour, to the records, recordings, et cetera, et cetera. So I am the mindset of being as supportive as possible. Yes, there's some personalities, let's just say. Everybody's got a little personality. I have one. I keep it under control. I have an ego as well. You can't stand in front of thousands of people at any given moment and be vulnerable artistically if you don't have self confidence. And self confidence in a big way comes from your ego, you know, knowing who you are, where you stand, what you have to offer, what your legacy is. So we'll go with David Coverdale. When he called me, I was totally the first call. I thought it was a friend pulling my leg, a joke, you know. Um, so uh, yeah, he called. I think I hung up, and he called back. The typical thing. It's true. It happened to me. He called back, says, "Darling, it is David Coverdale. I want to talk to you. Please don't." So. Um, we had a great conversation, and he invited me up to his place. And I said, yes, in a few weeks I have a little window, let's do it. And from the moment I met him, he was the most gracious, the coolest person on the planet. He was Mr. David Coverdale, you know. He's the man that I saw on the big stage when I was little, and I aspired to be in the same presence or in the same stage or whatever. But never in my dreams would I imagine that I could one day share the stage. I mean, how can you? How can you? When you're a kid, you're not capable, you know. So I saw him in Glenn Hughes with the purple thing, and it was mind blowing. So to be in his home, he was very cool. The first thing that went through my mind is this cat has got a legacy that just doesn't quit. The catalog of music, the credits, the credentials, the you know, he's a legendary cat, you know. Uh, so I was blown away that he would take the time and have lunch. We had lunch. We had a full day of just hanging out and talking business, and uh, and he offered me a position to work with him. And right away, what I told myself is, I'm going to be as supportive as I can. And that's, I got to tell you, that's one of the reasons why I get a lot of calls, because people, that's my reputation, you know. I don't bring a lot of baggage. I don't have anything to prove. I'm here to be part of your team so that we can provide the best show ever and the best music ever. So I think that's what it is, you know. You understand your position in the team. It's like a soccer team for Brasileiros. You know your position. You know what your role is, but there's a captain and there's a coach, and you got to support them. If they say go that way, you go that way. And if you know, so I think I'm very much available that way. When I got the call from Ted Nugent as well, and we were on. He invited me. He invited me to play, to audition and hang out, and we did. Um, and we got along really well. He had me sing a couple of songs. I'm a big fan of Derek St. Holmes, who is one of my favorite singers of all time. So I sang a couple of his songs. Tommy Aldrich invited me. He said, Ted's looking for a bass player that can sing. And we have a big tour with Kiss, their reunion, or no, the farewell tour, 99, 2000, something like that. And Ted wants to come out hitting hard, so I auditioned. But right away, you know that they are the captain. They are the alpha omega. They are the leaders that want you to be part of their team. So you cooperate, you support them, whatever you can do to show them that you're part of that team, that you're grateful to be there. You do it, and that's what it is. You know, you can imagine some of these personalities have big characters, or big characters, big egos, big everything, because they've been so successful for how long? So there's a status that they live in. They live in a different realm, you know. I identify with that, and I appreciate it. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but I very much learn how to navigate. I right away assess my position in the camp. Okay, I'm a bass player that can sing, so I'm going to be doing some background vocals, and I'm going to be, you know, the bass player in the team. So what's my position? The other position or thing to consider is on stage, because some of these projects are huge stages. So you want to assess your position within the team. Are you up front? Are you in the back? Are you going to work the stage? And I'm very clear about that. I communicate. I said, so what is it, man? You want me to hang out there in front of the stage with the mic, or you want me to lay back? You want me to walk around, work the stage, which I love to do. And most of the time is, yeah, we want you to be part of that team. So um, I haven't had any problems, to be honest. I haven't had any problems at all. Occasionally, there's a miscommunication where we don't understand, or people take it for granted that they were very clear about something, and I didn't understand. But I'm a communicator, as you can tell. I like to talk. I like to communicate to people and connect at every level. So that's been a good tool for me, to be honest. So, and the key word is not to antagonize at all. If they have a job to do, they have a mission, you have to be part of the team to you know to deliver. So that's what it is. And I have that kind of reputation, which is good. Thank God. So I get some calls, but I hope that answered your question. But
Yes.
but mhm.
Yes, just to finish that question, I want to know one more thing about it. Were there any bands that you were tested but you couldn't join?
But every so often it happens where you get the call and you're tied up. You're already committed, previously committed. Your schedule doesn't coincide, and yeah, that happens. And it's happened recently, a little bit more. Um, and the reason for that is that if I were a different person, I would jump into any given situation if it was a better situation. But I like to think that I'm a man of my word. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it, and I fulfill the contract and my commitment and my agreement with you before I can move on to bigger and better things, better situations, opportunities. But it's happened from the beginning, to be honest. The moment I landed in LA, it started happening where I did the album with Bill Ward, and that kind of put me on the map, and the calls started coming in, and I couldn't do it all. Although you wanted to, you prefer to do this and do that, but if I commit to you, like I committed to you to be here at 6 o'clock, I like to think that I was here on time, and we're going to be here for a little bit. So, if another opportunity, for example, came up at the same time frame, I would probably let it go and say no. I have a commitment here, so that happens a lot, and it's happened quite a few times recently. But I got to tell you, my solo thing has been such a focus of mine that that's where the conflict begins. Because I commit to doing dates and doing dates here with my solo thing, and to be honest, we're not at a higher level yet. I know we're going to get there, but we're at a lower level, so touring is tough, and you're not playing the state of the art venues or whatever. You're working your way up again, and then opportunities call that they are the big shows, the big arena shows, and you're committed to do this, so you can't jump around. Uh, our industry is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Even after the pandemic, the circle of people shrunk. We all ended up being in communication with each other. So the word gets around if you're somebody that's jumping around, chasing the better opportunities. The word gets around, your reputation. So it's a people business. And I respect that, I respect my commitment. And if I give you my word, I'm going to fulfill that. But yes, it does happen. And it's going to happen again. I see it happening next year. There's 3 or 4 projects brewing, and some of them are big projects, and I've already committed to. And there's other stuff knocking at the door, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? But no, man, you do the right thing. You always do the right thing, and you come out at the other side smelling like roses. But no, you do the right when you do the right thing. It's very strong. That's what it is. You can sleep in your own skin. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, besides you being an excellent bass player, you have a powerful voice. So when I
Thank
when
you.
I listened to your solo albums, it was like blew up my mind. So that's fantastic, your voices.
Thank
So when
you.
you're welcome, when you decided to become a singer, how did you
Well,
get this decision?
I started singing when I started playing music with my brother in the garage band. for some reason, I enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed learning the lyrics and the melodies, and I had a good ear, so I could hear a melody and kind of repeat it right away, you know. Uh, and then when I started playing, I started with guitar, rhythm guitar, and play a little bit of leads, but that was easy. Then I got into the bass, and the bass, singing and the bass became such, for me, it was a lot of work because the bass can be playing counterpoints and can be in another rhythm, and the melody could be somewhere else. So that was a challenge. And then I have that personality that if I'm challenged, if I try to do something and I don't can't do it right away, I challenge myself to do it. I got to do it. I got to do it. And I started working at it. And I think it was the process of of learning the songs, you know, Grand Funk Railroad, Bread, Alma Brothers Band, even Ted Nugent, and then later on doing the Purple thing and the Beatles, of course. Challenging myself to play the bass lines and singing was something that was really interesting to me. Really, oh. Then when I started getting better at it, it became more fun. So it became part of my vocabulary that I could sing. And I got to tell you, there's no doubt in my mind that 95% of the time I've gotten the calls because I can sing some backgrounds. I'm a lead singer as well. I can sing my stuff, but uh, they really appreciate any given project. Appreciate that you can get on the mic and sing a vocal part. You know, so it just became part of what I did. And you know, so many years later, I had this yearning to write my music and sing my songs, and I surround myself with some great talented people that are my vehicles to get there. And so, thank you for that because to be honest, that's been my journey since my solo thing too, to focus on the vocal thing, and it's a lot of work. Doing the lead singer thing is a lot of work, man. You have to really take care of it, and a lot of focus. Uh, the bass playing becomes secondary. The bass playing becomes a support to the song, which is the vocal is the song, the melody. So, but yeah, there's been some songs that we write in the studio, and then we come out live to play, and I'm going, oh, okay, where is this? You know. So again, I'm challenged over and over and over. But when I get compliments like you, that's what keeps me going. It's a reassurance that I'm doing something right. And I enjoy it a lot. I really, really do. I tell myself, because I've been very lucky to sing, to work with some of the best singers on the planet. And I tell myself, just for myself, I say, you're never going to be that cat, but you can have fun doing what you do. And I do. And, when I'm in that space of having fun, it just flows and it happens. It's a trip. But fronting your own band and taking care of all the business side and all of it is quite quite an endeavor. it's like one of these, man, juggling and oh God, one of those things. But again, it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge. Like I said earlier, at 19, we did so many shows to my surprise, and that 20 was going to be the year with the second album with Target and Mighty Music coming out. That was going to be the year where I could get on the radar in a bigger way. And then the pandemic happened, so everything got blown away. And, when we started going out 22, 23, we started building it again. So I'm in the process of building it again, which is why when I get invited to go to new territories playing my stuff, I'm like, yes, I love it. Obrigado, Brasil. Obrigado. So it's going to be fun, a lot of fun. Thank you for the compliment.
You said in the last interviews that you became a professional bassist when you play with a Blue Ward solo and along the way. Could you tell us about the how was the invitation to join the band with the rewards? How was to work with it?
I something that people might know by now. I don't know if you guys know, but I got sober in '87, September 20th of 1987. I got sober. I had a problem with alcohol. I had a problem with heroin and cocaine, IV. I was out of control. I was that kid that was just on his way down, you know. And I was given the opportunity to make a choice. And thank God I made the right choice to stay sober. And I won't get into a lot of details, but I met Bill Ward in these rooms, these sobriety rooms. That's how we connected. And we started talking, and he approached me one day saying he was doing his first solo album. And he wanted to surround himself with sober people because that was his journey now. And he invited me to the studio. He said, "Would you love? I'd like for you to come and hear some of my stuff. Are you interested?" I said, "Absolutely." And then later on, I get a call, if I remember correctly. He said, "Bring a bass." And by then, I didn't have a bass. I didn't even own an instrument. I was just getting sober, my life together. So I went and bought a cheap bass somewhere, hawk shop, pawn shop, and I showed up at the studio. And to my surprise, he downplayed everything, of course, you know. To my surprise, you know, Ozzy was on that album. Zach Wilde was on that album. Jack Bruce, one of my all-time favorite bass players. I believe Tim Bogart was there. Malcolm Bruce, Jack Bruce's son, and on and on and on. And I believe there was a couple of tracks where Ginger Baker played or something. There was so much information coming at me that I was, wow, I'm listening to this. And the music was really interesting and really cool. Very, very, very cool. He was doing all the writing and all the singing. And just, you know, after we heard a few tracks, I'm going, wow, I'm really impressed. This sounds really cool. There's a couple of tracks where I'm not happy with the bass tracks. Would you mind plugging in and see? Yeah, of course. Plugged in. The engineer plugged me in. And then they started playing the track, and he would sing me the parts. You know, he would say, I remember it was a lot of 16th notes. And to his surprise, my ear was good. I heard it, and I played it, and I recorded it. And he went, oh, okay. Well, there's another track. And I think this happened 4 or 5 times. I don't know what actually got printed, but that was it. It was very impromptu, last minute, unplanned, which is, in my opinion, when things like that happen in life, those are the best ones. You know, when you don't plan things, they just happen because they're supposed to happen. And so that was it. Later on, he invited me to be part of the band. And I think we're on the album. You know, we took pictures, we did the photo shoot, we did the whole thing. And there was some touring plan behind it. And I don't want to get into the details, but something happened and it just didn't fly. The label went down. Something happened where it just didn't continue, didn't move forward. It was Chameleon Records, I remember that. But that was it. But what it did, on my behalf, it put me on people's radars. They said, oh, Marco's back. Look, he's sober. He's not drinking. He's not doing any drugs. Let's call him. So that's when the calls started happening. I got a lot of calls. And the fact that I moved to LA to be in the Mecca, in the center of it all, helped a lot. I tell everybody that's part of the reason, one of the main reasons why I started working so much, because I was there, you know. So that was it, you know. Then, Edgar Winter called, and I ended up doing sessions with Al Jarreau. I had my own trio, jazz, Latin funk jazz trio that's out there. People still talking about it. And then John Sykes came in one day to listen to me play live. And in those days, I was playing fretless, exclusively fretless bass, 6-string. And we were doing a lot of fusion stuff, a lot of notes. And he came in, word of mouth. I got out there that I was playing fretless, and he needed somebody to finish second album, which is Nothing But Trouble, I believe. Yeah, it was that. Geffen. And he came and heard me and approached me, introduced himself. So I'm John Sykes. I know who you are, bro. I'm a big fan of Blue Murder. Big fan of Tony's and Carmine's. You know, that album is amazing. And he said, I'm behind schedule and I need to finish this album and deliver it as soon as possible. Can you come to the studio? Bring your bass. Absolutely. So that's what it was. I came into the studio the week after. We ended up doing 5 albums or 6. I lost track. I don't even know. But the main reason why I got the call and the invitation was because I was playing fretless. And that's one thing about John's music that's really cool, that, you know, you get to play fretless bass. And that's my passion, number one. So that's what it was. And then I started touring with him. Obviously, it brought a lot more attention to me. And then the other calls started happening. But he was the vehicle that introduced me to Thin Lizzy. You know, and that's another story there. But, and that got me on the map, and that's one of the reasons why I got the call from Coverdale. So it's one thing led to the other, to the other, to the other. In the meantime, I'm doing a lot of session work and a lot of stuff all over the place, and it's been great. It's been a great journey, man. Great career. I'm like, wow. When I talk about it, when I do interviews, I did a few last week, I'm reminded about all this stuff. I'm going, whoa, wow. But I'm grateful, and I appreciate it, and I respect it, and I try to do the best I can, you know. But that's how it is. In a place like LA, I tell everybody around the world, because I use musicians from all over the world, to go to LA, because it's still, in my opinion, you know, if you have something to offer, and I'm so lucky the musicians I hang out with, you know, to play in my project, they're so talented. They have so much to give, so much to offer. I said, go to LA, man. Just find a way to move there and wait for your opportunity so you can blow up and, you know, and, you know, because there's still a lot of opportunities there. A lot, in my opinion. But
Great.
that's what it was. Yeah. Bill Ward.
Yes, and I'm great John Sykes fan. I love all the guy made,
Me too.
Whitesnake, Blue Murder. I love the album that you played, Nothing But a Trouble, and the live album that
Uh-huh.
only released in Japan. I have the physical CD. I
Nice.
love.
Good man.
But I want to know, for all the time that you play with him and the solo career and the Blue Murder, how was to play with the John Sykes, record the albums? How was to do with the John Sykes? How was the experience? Because there's some comments that saying that John Sykes is not some negative things about John Sykes, but I love this guy. I want to know what's really personality of the John Sykes. I think that's a good guy.
I'll tell you, the bad comments come out of people not appreciating somebody like him. For example, we were talking about this earlier, how you're carrying a lot of weight on your shoulders, and you expect things to get done a certain way. I'm experiencing this right now, but I can't be aggressive, and I can't be that guy to get in your face. So because of that, I suffer, and I have to learn how to get things done in a different way. But there's some cats out there like John, for example, that would surround himself with people, professional people, that were not taking care of business. You know what I mean? Does that happen in your world? So that's where the bad reputation comes from. When people are not being cool, when people are not taking care of business like they're supposed to be taking care of business, and they come short or they drop the ball and all that, you have to. It's your business, man. It's your career. It's your image. It's your music. And there's a lot of that going on in our industry. People that are really loose about what they do. So that's where that comes from. In his defense, he was always amazing with me. I consider him a brother. I'm a big fan of his. Always will be. He's one of the most talented cats I've had a chance to work with. I work with a lot of them, thank God, but he's one of those cats. And I wish, I'm hoping that one of these days he gets out there and brings to the fans, some more stuff. But that's where it comes from. He came across some situations that were not cool, and he voiced his opinion. And sometimes you get angry because people fall short, musicians included, I have to say, you know. So that's how you're gonna step on some toes, and these people are gonna turn around and start talking bad about this person. But when you really go to the source and find out why those situations came up, you understand. So, and this happens a lot with a lot of people I work with. There's people getting fired left and right, and then they go out, especially on social media, and start talking. Uh, you know, it's just how it is. It's human nature. Some people, again, going back to what I was saying, if I give you my word, I'm going to do something, my job, the best I can. Uh, you will know that I'm doing the best I can. And if it doesn't come up to your standards, then you hire somebody else. And that's very simple. But when I tell you I'm going to take care of something and I don't show up prepared, or I don't respect you, you're being disrespectful, then you get fired. And these cats are going to be the ones that start talking. And that happens. That happens in the record industry, the record companies, the lawyers, the managers, the tour managers, the lighting directors, the guitar techs. You can multiply it 1,000 times, and that's where that energy comes from. But he's a cool cat. He's been around a lot, and to his credit, he's delivered a lot of great stuff, a lot of great music, a lot of catalog. He's been part of some historical rock and roll stuff. So yeah, I appreciate who he is, and we talk every so often. We stay in touch.
Yes, but it seems that he's so away from the music industry. You have some information that you come back later with a new album or another new song. And it's been 3 years that they released the last single. There's
Yeah.
some information or not?
Well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but before I left in October, we were talking, and he said, "I have some songs for you to play on. If that's indicative of anything, we'll see." But I think in order for John to come out, it's got to be right. It's got to be the right circumstance, the right gigs, the right tour, the right musicians, the right management, and that's what he's waiting for. He wants everything, all the ducks to get in order, and if it happens, great. If it doesn't, he's fine. He's okay with that too. But he's got a lot of fans, including me, waiting, going, "Come on, man." So that's what it is. That's what it is, pretty much. And you would have to talk to him personally to get more info. That's the reality. I don't want to protect or speak out of place. So
We have a questions. I think two questions. One
yeah.
is about both is about Thin Lizzy. How it was to join the incarnation of Thin Lizzy in 2011, playing the best parts composed by Phil Lynott. How was that?
It was amazing. You can imagine, for me to be in a spot like that, like it was with a lot of other bands. But particularly Thin Lizzy, being that Phil Lynott was the bass player and the songwriter and the front man and the singer and the poet and the whole thing. Uh, it was pretty wild. I did not think about it. I did not. I didn't want to get in a space of fear whatsoever. John Sykes, we were touring in Japan, and Udo was one of the biggest promoters in Japan, happened to be a big fan and a friend of Phil's. And in the set, the Blue Murder set, we would include some Thin Lizzy stuff that he wrote with Phil. From Thunder and Lightning and some hits that, there was a few songs that were huge hits in Japan. So he used to do this big dinner, this ritual after every tour when you were a favorite, which John in Blue Murder was a favorite. He would include us into a dinner to close the tour and take us to have Kobe beef and the whole Japanese ritual. And they were talking his way of saying thank you, and then he would present us with these massive gifts, mind blowing stuff, you know. Uh, Legendary cat. And they were talking, and I was next to John, and Mr. Udo said, just casually said, "Are you staying in touch with the boys? Are you staying in touch with Scott, Gorham, Brian Downey, and Darren Wharton?" And John's answer was, "Yeah, occasionally we talk, you know." And he said something like, "Well, what do you think about? There's an anniversary coming up. I'm trying to remember which one it was. There's an anniversary coming up. What do you think about putting a tour together to pay tribute to Phil?" And John said, "Well, yeah, all right. Well, let me get home. I'll call the boys and see what's going on." And then we got home. A month went by, and then I get the call from John. I said, "Marco, that thing with Thin Lizzy's happening, and I want you to be the bass player. I told the boys about you. We're getting together at a rehearsal studio. What was it? Third Encore, yeah. And come down." I said, "Yeah." So I went ahead and got my hands on anything and everything Thin Lizzy that you can imagine. I looked behind every nook and cranny. I got vinyl, and back in those days, 94, VHS and DVDs and CDs and everything you could get your hands on. And I started listening, and I called John and said, "What, do you have an idea what the set list is going to be?" He says, "No, not really," but he gave me a rough idea of what to pay attention to. So I want to say I learned anywhere between 22 and 25 songs. And then I wrote some charts on a few other songs that I thought would be part of the set. And I came in and played, and after an hour or so, Scott came over and says, "Do you want to go to Japan?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." But that was it. The reason I'm saying this is because I didn't really want to put myself in the place of, I'm taking somebody's place, because you cannot take somebody like Phil. But what I am going to do is I'm going to try and be loyal to the bass parts, try to replicate as close as I can, and then at the same time you got to own it and perform it live. So I think I did a decent job because I got the gig. So we went and did the run in Japan, and that was like the rest of the world got wind of it, and that's what happened. Then you get invited to go here, you get invited to go there. How about this, that festival, So that's what happened. It was very casual. When I think back, I'm going like, I was very lucky. I was to be in the right place at the right time with the right people, because there's a high concentration of talent in LA, including bass players. To be that guy that get the invitation, of course, there's a lot of luck involved. But I did do my work. I showed up prepared. I showed up on time. I learned as much stuff as I could. By the time we hit the road, I had memorized, I don't know, 30 something songs. But I'll say this, Natalia, to my surprise, when I started going into the catalog, the deep catalog, my mind was blown at the music. It was so beautiful. Wow, man. With all these excellent guitar players, and Brian swinging and playing drums like nobody else plays. And him and Phil had this synchronicity, this thing that was just swinging. And that was a big part of the songs. But to my surprise, by then, if I can be honest, the only things I knew about Thin Lizzy was the boys are back in town, Jailbreak, maybe Whiskey in a Jar, and I'm Still in Love with You. Or, let's just say 5 or 6 songs that got to the West Coast, where I lived in LA, and they were being played in the radio. Boys are back in town. It was massive. But when I got all the material and started going into the catalog, I'm like, wow, beautiful stuff, endless. Just song after song after song. Great writing, great lyrics, great singing, guitar. It's a guitar player's freaking music, you know. Uh, so having said that, when I did my first solo album with Target Mighty, I wanted to pay tribute to some of the artists and some of the opportunities I've had in the past, and I decided to do Chinatown, and that's on my album Chinatown. That's just saying thank you for the opportunity and the influence and the inspiration to Phil and the boys, you know. But that was it. It happened like that. And then, 20 something years later, I'm still around. We just did a thing with Ricky Warwick, a Black Star Writers thing, which is, it came out of Thin Lizzy. So it's very cool. Yes, I feel very fortunate to have been the guy that got the call, you know. So I'm grateful. Absolutely. Yeah.
For that reason that you say that it's a tribute for Team Lizzy, and that you guys didn't record a album with by the name The Lizzy, prefer to record by Black Star. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Uh, that is a long story too, and I don't know that I'm the one to talk about it, but let's just say that we were touring so much under the Thin Lizzy flag, and it was Brian Downey, and it was Darren Wharton, and it was by then John had left. We had Vivian Campbell on the guitar, so Scott Gorham, Vivian Campbell, Brian Downey, and then Ricky Warwick singing, and myself. And we started working a lot, a lot, a lot. The band was doing great. So the label being who they are and management, they say like, well, what about doing an album, you know, today's lineup? And for a moment, it percolated. For a moment, it was brewing, and then it just didn't feel right. And Brian being one of the original, the founders, and one of the founders and original member, he just came in one day. He says, "Guys, I love this, but it just doesn't feel right. To fly the flag, the Thin Lizzy without fail, it's not gonna feel right. No matter what the labels were saying and what the fans were saying, I tell you, there was a lot of fans that were okay with it because we were working a lot." Uh, but it just didn't feel right. So he left the project. And then right after Brian, Darren left the project. And so it was kind of, it was obvious that we needed to go in a different direction. So the label by then had heard the music that Damon and Ricky were writing and the band and the momentum, the whole deck. And they said, we still want to move forward. So why don't you come up with a new name? And that was it. That's where Black Star Riders came from. And I hung out there long enough, and I was having surgeries and problems with my knees and all that, and I had to bail. Um, so I did the first album, All Hell Breaks Loose, I believe, and then the rest is history. But it's a great band, man. If I would love to see Scott Gorham and that lineup come together one time, at least just do a handful of shows. We'll see. I don't know. I can't say one way or the other. It's not for me to say anything like that, but it would be cool if it did happen. If it's ever going to happen, because they definitely uh, put a big stamp on Irish rock and roll. They influenced the rest of the world. And so many bands to this day uh, were influenced. The double guitar thing, the way Phil sings, just the music, the Celtic thing, vibe. That was beautiful, beautiful. So that's how that happened, Natalia. It was just one of those, I was there at the right time at the right place, pretty much.
Yes, I was listening your solo career, so I was listening to the Casa Mendoza. So I have to
Oh,
say, that's a perfect album because I am a big fan of this kind of songs like fusion, like something like mixed
Eclectic,
like
yeah.
R&B or soul, funk, and something like this. And oh my God, how good was this album? So could you talk a little
Thank
bit about
you.
this? Could you talk a little about this album because I couldn't find some informations who played the guitar. So it's a very similar to an album. I don't know if, of course, I think you know who knows you about Stevie Lukather because I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan of Stevie Lukather. There
Yeah,
is a project that, of him called the Los Lobotomies, and the
those
albums is
lobotomies, yeah.
Los Lobotomies, and I'm a big fan of this project too. And the album is Candyman. It sounds a little bit like Candyman. So could you
Yeah,
talk a little about your Casa Mendoza? How spectacular album is this?
thank you, muito obrigado. Very eclectic, I want to say that album. And that album came out of, I mentioned earlier, I had the project that was kind of getting on the map. We were kind of getting noticed, and we started touring around the world, was under the jazz flag. But it was more like fusion, jazz, funk, a la go-go, with Brazilian grooves, with Afro-Cuban grooves, uh, which I'm a big fan of too, Natalia. I love that. I live there. I got chills because that's where I live. If I had to choose a genre of music where I needed to be for the rest of my life, just once, I would go there. That's who I am because I grew up in Mexico. I was exposed to all this Brazilian stuff, Chao Gilberto and Don Jobim and on and on and on and on. Uh, so I love that music for a lot of reasons. Brazilian music has kind of hit a beautiful, has a big place in my heart. Um, but that project was Renato Neto from Brazil, from Sao Paulo. I don't know if you know the name. You should know the name. Uh, um, he came to LA. He spoke very little English. He didn't know Motown. He didn't know Led Zeppelin. He didn't know Purple, any rock and roll stuff at all. He didn't know Stevie Wonder. And he joined my trio through Joey Heredia, the drummer. And so we were known for that. That was the project that we had the name of Yellow Jackets. And we had to drop the name. No, I'm sorry, Yellow Jackets. Straight Jackets. The Yellow Jackets is Jimmy Haslett. Straight Jackets. And we carried that name for a minute. We had to drop it. There was another band that registered the name. So we just went as Mendoza Heredia Neto. But the sound and my inspiration came from Renato playing his harmonies, his rhythms, which were all Brazilian based. A lot of Bayon, a lot of Bayon and bossa and his sambas and all that stuff. Uh, so the label mascot heard me with the trio, and to make a long story short, they said, because you're really busy with the rock genre, why don't you do something like that with a guitar player, just to bring it in a little bit more? And I said, yeah, why not? Great producer. And we moved forward. We hired another Brazilian friend of ours, Rafa Moreira, on guitar. You know Rafa Moreira? Ring a bell?
Just the name, I think.
He's been playing with Pink, Christina Aguilera, Paul Stanley now.
Yes, you know.
Amazing guitar player. And the thing that I have to say about that album, I like the direction. I like some of the writing. The way it was produced, I'm not a big fan because I was so busy. I was coming in to town and I'd get together with Joey on drums and do the drum tracks, 2, 3 tracks. Then I'd leave and then come back and go to Steve Weingar's keyboard player and do a couple of tracks. So you can hear it. You can hear that there's no continuity. It's very eclectic, stylistically speaking, and also the momentum. There's no continuity, if you know what I mean. So, and then when it came down to the mixing, I was on the other side of the planet working with whatever I was working with, and I wasn't part of the mixing. So I have my questions about that album. If I had a chance to produce it again, which I would like to have, I would do a different job. But yes, I listen to it from time to time. Do some cool stuff, you know. Um, but I dig it. If I'm given the opportunity to be eclectic, I will go there. Unfortunately, Natalia, the labels when it came out on Mascot. Ed is a friend of mine, very supportive. We put out the album, and the label, the magazines didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know where to put it. So it came and went, and I was busy touring, doing other stuff, focusing somewhere else, and it came and went. The idea, there's talks about maybe re-releasing it with remixing it or whatever. In the middle of all that because I would like to grab all my songs, my catalog, and release the best of, you know. So hopefully we can put it together. But thank you for the compliment. I dig it. Yeah, there's a lot of percussions everywhere, right? Which I love. And I do the mouth thing too, which I get all over the place. I'm a big fan of Bobby McFerrin. I'm a big fan of Al Jarreau. I got to work with Al Jarreau. And so that album allowed me, it's a vehicle for me to be all over the place. And we did. Unfortunately, industry, when it's so eclectic and you don't tour behind it, you're not supporting the songs, it kind of comes and goes. But we'll see what the future brings. Thank you for the compliment again. Yeah, yeah, I dig it. I dig it. Very cool. Yeah, I'd like to have the opportunity to do something with it again.
So again, about your solo career, your first solo album, the name is Live for Tomorrow, was produced by Rich Coates, and I think
Yes.
so. And Steve Lukather playing on it.
Hmm.
So how was the invitation? Was your
Uh,
idea to invite Lukather? How was that?
n- no, I'll be totally honest. This is how it was. I was working. Frontiers was after me. Um, Serafino, the owner of Frontiers, a friend of mine, and who's a fan. He came to see Whitesnake in London, and I was doing some duets with David, singing the Glenn Hughes parts and all that. And they called me after the show, and they said, Marco, we'd like to have a meeting with you. Can you come down to the lobby? We're here with. They had they had some deals with Red Beach and Doug Aldrich and a few cats. And I said, yeah, I came down. So long story short, they said, you have a great voice. We think you should have a solo album, and we want to give you that opportunity. And I said, okay, but I have this other project that's uh, Mendoza Heredia Neto. Can I send it to you? Absolutely. So we got home. I sent it to them, and they said, it's not our cup of tea. We don't know what to do with this genre. It's very eclectic, along the lines of Casa Mendoza. Uh, but we feel you need to do a rock album, a melodic rock album, and I was like, I'm not interested right now, man. I'm too busy doing this, doing that, whatever. I want to say it lasted about a year, a little bit over a year. He would call every couple of months, and we'd talk. And um, long story short, one day he called. He says, Marco, you know Richie Costas? Yes, Richie and I have been talking about doing something together for ages now. He says, well, he's going to be home in a few weeks. He was in Japan touring with opening up for the Stones or something like that, big one. He's going to be home and next month for 2 weeks, and I think he wants to do something with you. Are you interested? I said, Richie Costas, yeah, absolutely. So that's how it came about. I changed my schedule, and we ended up in the studio a few blocks from where I live in Studio City. So it was perfect. I was home. We did the whole album in 15 days. We got together, and then we started talking about guitar players. All our friends were fans of you know guitar players. We are, and drummers and keyboard players and all that. So long story short, I picked up the phone and I called Luke there, who lived a few blocks away. literally. And I said, Luke, man, I'm working on my first solo album, man. It would be awesome. Is there any possible? He didn't even let me finish. Just, when do you need me, man? Absolutely, Marco. I'm there. I got chills because that's what he said. I said, I'm at Richie's studio at the house. Oh, great. I'll walk over there tomorrow. I was tomorrow at 12 noon. Great. That was it. Same thing with Tommy Aldrich, you know. Same thing with Brian Tishy. Same thing with Doug Aldrich, who lived not too far. We're all in the valley, you know. We all live in the valley, so it was very easy. The fact that the studio was centrally located, people could just walk over, ride their bikes with their guitar, and it was very cool. So I was really grateful. There's a few other folks that I called that couldn't make it, you know, but Ted Nugent, I called him. He said, "Absolutely, man, let's do it." Boom, he's on the album. So it's one of those albums that every time I look at it or I listen to it, I also want to revisit and remix and retouch if possible. But yeah, it's a great memory. The cover of the album is my daughter too, who is now 21. She was 4 years old then, and it's one of those projects that just happened. It just one thing led to another. Again, what we were talking about earlier, it was fate. When something's supposed to happen, it just happens. I really believe in that. So that was it. Luke, he's one of those cats. He's a real cat, you know. He's a real guy, man. And it was obviously very helpful to help me get on the map. That album got really well received. It got some great reviews. Unfortunately, it came out, and I was touring with, I don't know, Whitesnake, then LIZZY, Nugent, Soul Circus with Neil Sean, whatever, or Dolores. I was going from one tour to the next and next, and I couldn't go out and support it, tour it. So that was it. But what it did do is it put me on the map as a solo artist, and then it made it easy for me to talk to Mascot about the Casa Mendoza thing. And their opinion was, we want you to be eclectic. We want you to be who you are, you know. So being Latino, you know, of course you're gonna bring the Latin influences in there as much as you can. I love that music, man. I could listen to Brazilian music all day, all night. I'm just, it takes me to that place, you know. Beautiful.
And still talking the Frontiers Records and talking about the Daisies, you recorded 3 studio albums with the guys, 1 live album. You played in best mark of the Dead Daisies, in my opinion. And why did you decide to leave the band?
Well, the misconception is that I left, but the reality is, when the end of 2018 came around, I gotta say, and I've been part of some pretty big bands, and we work hard and we tour hard, but that way exceeded everybody's idea of hard work. To be honest, we were constantly touring, we were constantly writing, doing another album, boom, boom, boom. In 4 or 5 years, we did so much work that some of us got a little fried. And John decided to take a break. Karabi. He says, at the beginning of 19, I'm not going to come back. I need a break. I just need a break. And so management and everybody agreed, okay, he's got to take a break. Let's look for another singer. And that's when I started getting busy with my solo thing, because I got invited to do all these shows. And I was given the green light to go and do whatever, just to check in. When we find the singer, we'll go into the studio, write another album, and then we'll take it from there. Well, things got a little difficult finding a new singer. Somebody that could give, you know, the Daisies a commitment. So kept trying. We talked to, management talked to quite a few people, big names and all that. And there was a couple of prospects, but it never solidified, never happened. So come April, May, I was out there touring, and I get a call saying, you know, we're going to talk to Glenn Hughes, He seems to be very interested. And um, how do you feel about that? We want to talk to him about just singing, just fronting the band. And I said, well, I know Glenn. I'm a fan. I consider him a friend now. Glenn's a singing bass player and a songwriter, and he's amazing. I said, yes, I'm not going to get in the way of this project to continue, to move forward. So that was the cool thing. They talked to me, and I said, of course, it's got to keep moving, you know. So that was it. He was in by May or June. They met up in the studio. They jammed a couple of hours. They made a deal, and then we announced in August, I think, and that's what it was. So I didn't leave. I was, they found Glenn, and Glenn. So now instead of having a quintet, you have a quartet, and that's what happened there. And I love what Glenn does, man. I will say this: it changed the direction. That's what happened. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it changed the direction. The expectations of the fans were like, okay, this is something different. Well, yes. Anytime you're going to change the singer, man, it's going to be something different, you know. So, but I'm a big fan. I love what they came up with, and it was 19 when they were doing the album. The album was supposed to come out in 20, and then the pandemic hit. The album didn't come out until 21 or 22. I don't know. They lost a lot of momentum. The Daisies. It became one of those things, you know. But you know, they're all friends. They're all family. I consider them very close. You know, we stay in touch, and it is what it is. What happened to me is I started paying attention to my solo by default to my solo stuff, and I'm going, I kind of dig this too. This is cool, and I'm very satisfied the way things. Again, another one of those things in life that happen without you planning it. It just one door closes, the other one opens, and you walk through it, and boom! All of a sudden, you find yourself, wow! I couldn't have planned it better, you know. So that's what it was, pretty much. I didn't leave. We couldn't find a singer, and then Glenn Hughes was an option, and we took it, and that's what it was.
Yes.
But I agree. I mean, it was a band. With all due respect, Glenn is amazing. I'm a big fan of his singing and his playing, his songwriting, who he is. Mind blowing, you know. Legendary cat, you know. But I think we were in a trajectory going this way with the five of us writing and the momentum and John and me and Doug and it was Dean Casanova at the time, and it was cool. And then it stopped and it went in another direction. That's all it was, you know, musically. So then the pandemic and all that didn't help it at all. So, but they're doing great, man. I think they're coming down to, they're trying to get down to South America again. Um, yeah, one of those things. So maybe you'll see them down there soon. They're great, man. John's back. He's great. Devin is a great bass player. He brings everything he's got on the bass, and Loey and Doug, and they got Tommy Clefaitos now. It's all good. It's rock and roll, man. You know,
Yes.
and there's a lot of there's a catalog of so many great songs, so many great songs.
Yes.
So I'm a fan.
Yes. And talking about the great albums that you worked, one of the live DVDs that I watched most, I'm not kidding, was the Full Blood on Nugent by Ted Nugent. Was one of the best live albums in my opinion. I watched it so many times in my DVD. I remember, and I would like to know how it was to work with the personality with the Ted Nugent.
Look at this. Um,
Oh,
Firework. That's what it was like working with Ted. Like there. Fireworks. Working with Ted for me was like going to rock and roll school. The stories, um, the heritage, what he represents. In my opinion, He's another guy I paid my respects to because he was very influential, inspiring me to do my solo thing, to fret my thing. He's been around for a long time. He's seen it all, done it all, and he's a powerhouse, man. If you don't know how to handle Ted or navigate him, he'll blow you away. But he brought me in. He took me under his wing, and he assured me that that he trusted me, and I trusted him. Working with Ted is the first time I went with Ted. We were on a big stage with Kiss. So it was Skid Row, Ted Nugent, Kiss. And you can imagine um, what a trip it was. But on a personal level, he's got all the stories from the world. He's been around for a while. He's done it all. And he's a great cat. He's a great human being. I respect him as a guitar player, legendary guitar player. He's extremely smart, and he gave me all the respect in the world, which I appreciate. And Tommy, Ted, and myself, we had a great time on stage, and you can tell. You know, I was lucky to be part of that camp for a while. So I tip my hat to him too on Viva la Rock. I wanted to do that. And hopefully on the next album, I'll tip my hat to maybe a few other projects that I've had the opportunity uh, and the honor of being part of, a little bit of my past. But so, yeah, that's what it was.
Let me introduce to the last question.
Hmm.
We have to. It's a simple question. For all of the best, what's the best three best albums for you of all time? Could be
Oh,
pop, could be rock and roll,
Any
jazz,
style.
anything, any style.
the
Three.
first album, the first album that I ever had, and I just got to see Paul McCartney in Paris. It was mind blowing, right? Some of the guys are friends that play with him, and I happened to be close to Paris, and I made it to the show, and it was a bucket list for me. So for me, my brother and I got Abbey Road, the Beatles. That was the first album ever, and then followed by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Deja Vu, and these are albums before I even started playing. That's why they will stick with me. After that, we got Let It Bleed, the Stones. So for me, those are the three albums. And then after that, Allman Brothers Band, um, live at Fillmore East, you know, Grand Funk Railroad. I mean, I could go on forever. And of course, after that, the Purple, the Zeppelins, and I got into the Prague thing, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, yes, all of the ELPs, and yes, and then later on, I got into the jazz thing, of course. Weather Report, Jaco Pastorius, and all the cats. So that's another interview. We could talk for hours and hours about albums.
Yeah.
We should do that. I would love to do that, but so yeah, for the record, that's what it is. And I gotta say, I listened to my albums, and there's some good stuff there too. There's some real good stuff there too. Self promotion, but it's true. I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't feel it. So please listen to it, take the time, and we'll take it from there. And we'll see you in Brasil pronto. Saudade Brasil. Muito
Maybe in São
obrigado.
Paulo, on February it will be your show here.
Yeah,
Maybe you'll be there. You'll be there.
get down, please, please, please.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Well,
it. So I have to say thank you again for accepting us the invitation here. I wish you a very nice Happy New Year's Eve,
yeah,
and
you
that's
too,
it.
guys. Feliz Año Nuevo.
It is a level.
Okay,
Okay,
we
Thank
will
you.
see you
so
soon. Talk. Please
see
send
you
me
soon.
the link so I can post everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
yes, no
Nice idea.
problems. Okay,
Ciao.
bye bye,
Ciao.
ciao.
Bye.
Adios. Adios. Adios.